Nikkei Asia News Roundup
with Jada and Brian. Welcome to the Nikkei Asia News Roundup with your hosts, Jada and Brian.
bringing you the latest updates and insights on the dynamic world of Asia and more.
Now let's delve into the headlines. This program is brought to you by Nikkei.
Oil-rich Middle Eastern countries seeking technology from the U.S. and elsewhere are rethinking their ties with China, looking to Japan and other nations as President-elect Donald Trump's return to office this month heralds intensifying tensions with Beijing.
Toyota has completed Phase 1 of its experimental city in Japan and will start moving residents in as early as this fall. The prototype community is aimed at developing autonomous vehicle technology and other futuristic concepts.
American passport holders were the second biggest losers over the past decade in an annual global ranking of passports with visa-free access, while Chinese citizens were among the biggest climbers.
Local entrepreneurs are driving a renaissance in the historical district along Bangkok's Songwat Road by celebrating its rich cultural diversity while adding modern touches.
A local cola brand is soaring in popularity in Turkey as Muslim shoppers boycott American products over U.S. support of Israel and its war in Gaza, delivering a windfall to Japanese parent Daido Group Holdings.
Malaysia and Singapore will promote aerospace, medical devices, and other high-tech sectors in a special economic zone they are developing, as they move to ensure smooth flows of investments, talent, and goods. Now moving on to the next segment.
Prabowo's priority. Indonesia's food security quest faces tough challenges. In a quiet rice paddy 2 hours drive southeast from Jakarta sits an outwardly unassuming facility whose backers hope offers the key to achieving one of Prabowo Subianto's top priorities as the new president of Indonesia, achieving self-sufficiency in food production within 5 years. The building in Subang, West Java province, hosts a seed bank, storing more than 1,500 varieties of rice seeds collected across the globe. Here, a state-owned seed company is working with Vietnam and the Netherlands to develop new rice varieties and create superior certified seeds that will increase the productivity of fields in Indonesia to meet demand. For Prabowo, who took office in October, boosting domestic food production in the country of more than 280 million is a sorely missing key to cementing the country's security, self-reliance, health, and international status. But such ambitions must overcome a major hurdle. Farmers place more faith in seeds they have developed over many years on their own land.
Old-school Pokemon cards are a bigger deal now than ever. Players in Japan and overseas have been catching Pokemons in card form for 28 years, but they are a bigger deal now than ever. Collectors are paying millions of dollars for rare individual cards, while the Pokemon Company, part owned by Nintendo, is churning out new cards at a record pace. The surge of interest in trading cards has been a boon for Japan's toy industry, whose shipments reached over 1 trillion yen in 2023, the first time the figure has hit 13 digits. Cards accounted for 27.2% of total toy shipments, thanks to growth at more than double the industry's overall pace. The COVID pandemic is what made the cards hot property in the eyes of industry watchers and participants, who point to similar rises in the value of other tradable assets like luxury watches and cryptocurrency. The trading card boom has also been a blessing for printing companies and Akihabara landlords.
And now for news highlights. In each episode, Jada and I have a discussion about a recent article that has particularly captured our attention.
And today we'd like to talk about transformations taking part in Thailand's auto industry.
Now, before we start, if you go to our website and read this article, you'll notice that there is a film attached to it. And if you watch the film, you might recognize the voice narrating it.
Aha!
It's something I do from time to time. But let's just jump into the story. Thailand is, this is an interesting statistic. For about a half century, Thailand's market for cars has been dominated by Japan, like 90% of the market.
Yes.
But that's changing. It's now, most recent statistics have it down to 76%, and it's dropping.
Yeah, and that's because of Chinese automakers coming into the market, right?
Yes, and particularly BYD.
That name we've heard a lot last year, and I'm sure we will hear about it a lot in 2025 as well.
They're just about to break into the top 10 makers of cars in the world. Right, it could be any time now.
Yeah, I mean, as an EV maker, it's right behind Tesla, really, for global sales.
That's the big thing. They're electric car makers. That's where they've made, to use the phrase, they've made inroads into the electric car industry, and they, like for instance, they just opened their first factory, or they're working on opening the first factory outside of China, and it's in Thailand.
Yes.
And they're selling well in Thailand. And that is a big concern for Japanese automakers.
Yeah, because Thailand has been called the Detroit of Asia, right? And that was mostly thanks to Japanese automakers manufacturing and selling cars in Thailand. But Chinese makers are really transforming the market, and more EVs are sold in Thailand each year, thanks to partly because of Thai government's introduction of subsidies, right, and tax exemption. So Chinese makers are really taking advantage of that, while Japanese automakers are falling behind.
Yeah, and we have some really interesting graphs in this story. Like one of them just really tells the tale of what's happening with dealerships in Thailand, and it shows. You want to run off the numbers, or should I? Because
I can. According to data obtained by Nikkei in 2024, the number of Toyota dealerships in Thailand increased by 9.7%, but all other major automakers decreased, like Isuzu, Honda, Mitsubishi. 76% decrease for Nissan. So that's a huge drop.
Yeah, we're talking 20%, 52%, 13% for all these different ones. Toyota's the only one going up.
Yeah.
So what's happening to those dealerships? BYD is taking over a lot of them.
Yeah, not just market share, but they're poaching salespeople and even factory workers, right?
Factory workers. We have an interview in the video with a worker who's leaving the Suzuki plant and going to the BYD plant just because it's the better future.
Yeah.
And also executives are moving.
Yes. The female worker you mentioned, she said that her pay doubled after joining BYD. So, I mean, that's a huge...
Honestly, how can you argue with that?
Yeah.
But
I thought one interesting thing I've never really seen anywhere was EV girls is mentioned in the video.
Yes, if at first you look at it and it's just like what you see on YouTube where people review products, but it's these two women particularly that we highlight where they talk about cars and how well they drive and how much they like them and how they look and all that stuff. And they are really enthusiastic about BYD.
Yes, so their reviews on social media, it's a really, from a consumer standpoint, obviously you're going to watch those videos if you're thinking about buying a BYD car or another brand, Chinese brand car. So, I mean, if Japanese companies want to catch up, those are kind of some creative strategies they need to come up with, right?
Yeah, because it reminds me, there's a quote later on in the article from the Saha Group chairman, who he's nicknamed the king of consumer goods in Thailand. And he says, quote, "Japanese manufacturers are still being influenced by their success in the analog era, and they are slow to make decisions." And that seems to be a key element going on here.
Yeah, the interview bits of him within the film was really interesting, I thought. He said, Japanese automakers are kind of more of a step-by-step strategy where they make one step, review, take another, or step back if it's not going too well. But Chinese automakers, that's not how they do business. They just they rapidly accelerate and expand.
So this is more, BYD is doing more of a creative disruption, and to use a tech term, rather than Toyota's legendarily Kaizen situation where it's gradual improvement, step by step, as you just mentioned.
Yes.
So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens to the market in the next few years.
And that brings us to the close of today's episode.
We look forward to having you join up again for the next edition of the Nikkei Asia News Roundup.
Stay informed, stay curious. Until next time, I'm Jada.
And I'm Brian. See you again, and take care. This program is brought to you by Nikkei.